I wonder sometimes, what is the meaning of life? What is life even? Why are we going through such struggles, and how can we enjoy the limited amount of time we have? Death is coming to us all eventually, so I never truly understood what went through the heads of those who wanted to greet it early. One way, however, that I can explain this is through science. Our body is nothing but a bunch of cells working together to make sure we survive. Our emotions are nothing but chemicals which help cells work with each other. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters in the scientific world. Chemicals which decide if you're having fun or if you're getting stressed. The most well-known of these chemicals would be dopamine, otherwise known as the pleasure hormone. Dopamine determines how and why we act like we do, better helping our survival by making us interested in learning and rewarding us when we do something good. You win a race, dopamine is released. You get good grades, dopamine is released. You manage to do something you've been working for, dopamine is released. And if you do drugs, dopamine is released. The last one got you, did it not? After all, why is dopamine released after something as harmful such as drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes? Isn't that bad for our health and hence bad for our survival? You see, these toxins are not good for our body, but they're able to specifically target dopamine areas of the brain. They can either increase dopamine release or bind to dopamine receptors to make the brain think it's getting dopamine. Alcohol works in the first way, by flooding the brain with dopamine. To understand dopamine better, we must look at an experiment performed by scientists James Olds and Peter Milner in the 1950s, which involved rats with devices in their heads which would stimulate dopamine release every time the rat pressed a button in front of it. Now, the rat not knowing what the button does, would not initially press the button straight away. Maybe it would be an accident, but the rat would get rewarded for it nonetheless. The rat would scurry off almost immediately. However, after a while, the rat would come back and somehow manage to press the button, and eventually the rat would come to associate the button as something that gives it pleasure or something that rewards it, pressing it rapidly even. To take this experiment further, scientists made a device. They placed a rat in front of an electrified bridge, and at the end of the bridge there was the button once again. The bridge was electrified, so every time the rat would cross it, the rat would feel immense pain. However, since the rat has associated the button with dopamine, the rat would take this risk and still cross the bridge, go through all the pain just so it can press the button. This experiment was an example of just how powerful dopamine could be. It could be used to control people, and if not controlled, it could lead to very bad outcomes. I guess this explains why alcohol and other drugs are effective. You feel like you need more dopamine and you feel like you're getting happiness out of it. But the problem with dopamine is that the more you take, the less effective it becomes. The first glass of alcohol might feel amazing. However, the next glass of alcohol is not going to feel just as good. After a few days, you might need 2 glasses of wine to get the same effect. After 1 week, you might need a whole bottle to get the same effect as it did for the first time. And after a few months or even an year of regular drinking, you might notice that your life is dependent on alcohol because that's the only thing that rewards you. Where you started from 1 glass, you might need a couple of bottles before you get the same amount of reward. The big question that arises from this experiment is that how can we take control of our dopamine? And is it even possible? The answer is yes. To start this journey that you're going to need in order to take control of dopamine, first you're going to need something that's called a dopamine detox, which involves you slowly moving away from all of the activities that you know are resulting in dopamine release. This may include alcohol, obviously, any drugs, playing any games, or doing anything that gives you happiness. Of course, the first few days are going to be a bit hard. However, after about a week of doing this, you're gonna find that even the smallest things around you make you happy for some reason. That's because your brain is no longer taking it for granted that you're going to get dopamine every single day. You are probably gonna go through withdrawal symptoms, and it's gonna be tough, but at the end it's gonna be worth it. Every small moment of your life is gonna be happier. You're going to get pleasure from even the smallest things that you do. I won't go into this further because there's many videos on YouTube already on how you can do this. However, if you want any more videos from me in the similar manner and how you can learn to control your dopamine, like the video and subscribe and put a comment down below, and I'll make sure I get a similar video to help you out in the future. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.